I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
I knew it. I love when he does that.
Wrestling has more than one royal family.
Adrenaline in my soul, something, something, Cody Rhodes. I'm the tribal chief around here. Yeah, you see me, the tribal chief. That's right.
Time. But let me go ahead and tell you.
Shut your bitch ass up.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 437 of the Hoots Podcast here on November 1st, 2024. It's a Friday morning. I just finished doing my daily walk. It is yours truly, the nefarious brother Adam, aka Joshie Lopez, here to chat it up with you guys this week. As the road to episode 500 continues, the countdown now is at 63 as we are in this voyage together here on this audio platform. Please do me a favor and make sure to not only hit the like button, but smash the subscribe button here on YouTube as we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Appreciate each and every single one of you who take time to listen or watch the podcast each and every single week, wherever you get your podcast from. Best way, I stress this enough each week, the best way to support this podcast is listening to it and following the show on Spotify. It's the best way we can get closer for an opportunity to start gaining some revenue for the podcast, and sharing the links to the show and following the show specifically would definitely help us out a lot more. But these are going well. We're just about 1.7 million plays and downloads right now on Spotify for podcasters. So again, I want to thank you all for that. 300,000 away from hitting 2 million on Spotify for podcasters, which should be an amazing accomplishment before I put a ribbon on the bow on this podcast in general. But again, this show's not ending till the beginning of 2026, which would be the 10-year anniversary of this podcast. All that being said, though, a lot of stuff to look forward to. This year's been flying by so fast, and it's been a whirlwind in a lot of different ways. October was not a great month for me from a mental health point of view. A lot of stuff to juggle. It hasn't been a great month for me, honestly. So I'm here to turn how's the phrase go? Turn another cheek or something like that. I'm ready to put October to the side and enjoy November and the rest of the time I have left in Chicago. Getting curveballs thrown my direction as days and weeks go by, but it's very important right now to just remain focused and on what I'm planning to do, and we'll make the best out of it. This week's podcast is going to be a little interesting. Obviously, we got Crown Royal to preview and predict. That pay-per-view will be taking place tomorrow afternoon. I won't be able to work at the pawn shop tomorrow, so they're giving me the day off to work and cover the show live for WrestlingHeadlines.com. I want to give a shout out really quick to Calvin, who I've been doing work with, business with for almost 8 years now. 7 years. He's the one that reached out to me. There was a couple years after I left WrestleZone where I was considering no longer doing transcripts and stuff like that, and I was just doing my own project on ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. By the way, the site is still available if you want to see all the articles that I do. But he's the one that reached out to me about 6 or 7 years ago and asked me for the opportunity to share work on what used to be known as LordsOfPain.net. And I've been burned a couple times with some of these dirt sheet places that I've shared my work on. I explained it before. If you check out our previous editions of the podcast, especially the earlier, I would explain kind of like how kind of shady and kind of morally incorrect the behind the scenes of a wrestling based website works and stuff like that, especially like my experience with WrestleZone was not great. But, you know, it's hard to trust people in this field, you know. But even despite getting furloughed last year, where I was not expecting it, Calvin has always been honest with me and has done right by me throughout the years. And I'm very appreciative of his honesty with me, and he hasn't like bullshitted me for the amount of time that I've been sharing my work on his site and stuff like that. And technically, I'm not a employee of WrestlingHeadlines.com. I share my work that they asked me to cover, and I leave it at that, you know. And I'm very proud to say that I'm still pumping out the best play-by-play articles in the industry today, and the rankings on Google don't lie. Been doing this now for over 10 years. You know, I have a lot of things to contemplate as the next 5 years are, I'm sure, will be flying by, because time keeps just going by fast and stuff like that. And there's a lot of decisions that I got to make. I got to think about what I want out for myself for the next 10 years as I'm starting this next chapter of my life. And what does that look like? Am I still going to be doing play-by-play articles every single week for $1,600 or $1,700 a month? You know, I know that I want more for myself. I want to be in the actual business, and I had to contemplate what's the best option for me. You know, what do the next 5 years look like for me work-wise? I would hope there would be opportunity in a way where I could cover more shows, and I would be going back to making the money that I was making a little bit during 2020 and 2021 and stuff like that. It's kind of strange as COVID was going on with the pandemic. That's when I was making the most money. And there was time periods from the website that I was making close to $3,000 a month. And now you have to also take in consideration the fact that I was covering a lot of the shows from New Japan, and that definitely helped out with the pay. But I had Impact, I had some of the ancillary AEW shows that were going on, then I was covering that. MLW and NWA. A couple years ago, I was covering just about 60 plus hours of wrestling a week, plus pay-per-views on the weekend from different promotions, and I kind of missed that schedule. I'm not gonna lie. To have the power to control your own schedule and work from home, I think best suits me, unless it's something where I'm like performing music on stage or doing something like that. Just knowing just how I am as a person and stuff like that, and how I perform the best way is just being in my element. And I have no regrets getting in this field. There's one thing that and this is the best advice I could give to anybody that's considering having a career in wrestling media, or media in general, is to really take in the fact that, you know, they always say you gotta pay your dues in wrestling. Well, it's the same thing with media. No matter what form of entertainment that you're covering, you have to take it one day at a time and 1 week at a time, and you have to learn how to adapt. And would I love to be making the money that I was 3 years ago? Absolutely. If I was still doing that, I don't know if I would still be in Chicago right now, but here I am. And again, I need to take a step back here and like really think about what the next 5 to 10 years are going to look like. I'm not saying that I'm considering to move away from the transcripts. This is my main line of work, obviously, and it's something that I enjoy. You know, I have this opportunity to do this type of work because I'm not married. I'm not in a relationship. It certainly doesn't look like that's going to be happening anytime soon anyways. And I'm in the process of moving away from my hometown and trying to see what the next chapter of my life is going to look like. But I had to consider everything, and just maybe one day my big break will happen. But I'm not going to come here and be like, oh, I want a handout and stuff like that. I've never been that person. That's not how I was raised. That's not the type of human being that I am. I think anybody that knows me personally will tell you that I would rather work for something than being handed something out of sympathy or charity. I'm certainly not a charity case. I don't need sympathy from anybody. I'm not giving up on my dreams. I have a lot of hope that maybe one day I would get to call a WrestleMania if that opportunity were ever to come my way. But there's a lot of things I got to consider, man. I really do. I think my work ethic speaks for itself. I think the quality of my work speaks for itself too. Would it be awesome to have that be reciprocated in money? Sure. But I'm also a person that's not driven by money. Yeah, I know how important it is to survive and have money, but my happiness is not dictated by the amount of money that I'm making. That's just not who I am as a person. But I had to consider a lot of things, and there's just a lot of stuff going on right now that it's been kind of opening my eye to a lot of different things, and I hope you guys recognize the fact that I still bust my ass with this wrestling stuff. I hope you do. I hope in a way that you guys recognize that I still care and I still try my best to do right by you guys. And I know I may not be a Sean Ross Sapp or Peter Roseberg or any of these other guys that are making $70,000 or $80,000 plus dollars a year to cover the business. I'm not there yet, but I hope one day I could get to that point, obviously. But what's more important to me is that I have your guys' respect and that you guys acknowledge the fact that I care about the industry and I want it to be good, and that I hope in some way that my work has brought a positive aspect to your life. I hope in a way that this podcast, in a way, has been a positive escape for you. I just hope that when the time comes around where either I just stop, I hope by the time that comes that maybe one day I'll decide to stop doing the articles and I put the end to the podcast and everything. Whenever that time comes around, I hope you guys just know that I genuinely gave a shit and I tried my best, and I hope somebody recognizes that. So, for the podcast this week, we'll do preview predictions for Crown Jewel next. We'll wrap it up like we usually do with the Back Porch Q&A session. But as I made a promise to you guys as we continue the road to episode 500, I'm going to be dropping some throwback interviews that I did back in the day on my first wrestling show called the Pro Wrestling Experience. And this week's flashback interview features a conversation that I had with Stokely Hathaway about 9 years ago when he was still in Ring of Honor. And it's crazy to think about this, that it's been almost a decade where I was regularly going to downtown Chicago on State Street and recording a live 3-hour wrestling podcast in the middle of the day. A lot of great memories from that time period. And like I said, I have no regrets getting into this field. I think it's brought out the best in me. Maybe it give me another sense of purpose. But yeah, so the flashback interview this week is going to feature Stokely Hathaway. But when we come back, we'll get into my predictions and everything for Crown Jewel and everything right here on episode 437 of the Hoots Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 437 of the Hoots Podcast here. Time to talk about what happened this week in WWE as we have Crown Royal taking place this Saturday from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Big things happening, big things popping, little things stopping. I haven't said that in a while. Crown Jewel. A lot of matches on this show. I think it's probably the most matches that we had in a Triple H-led show for a while. So we'll get into that in just a couple minutes. There's a couple things that I just want to go over from, obviously, the weekend. We had NXT Halloween Havoc that I got to cover for Wrestling Headlines. So that was a nice way to end the month. Even though it wasn't like the greatest month for me personally, professionally, it wasn't that bad. To have 2 pay-per-views in a month is not a bad thing at all. It's kind of the same thing with this month. You know, I'm started off this weekend with SmackDown tonight and Crown Jewel tomorrow, and that's a good way to start the month. And then we got Survivor Series in Vancouver at the end of the month, so not too bad. Not too bad. I think this might be my last busy month of the year article-wise because well, that's not technically true because they have the NXT Deadline pay-per-view that they usually do in December. Then you got Saturday night's main event coming up in December 14th on Long Island, New York. That's from my guy Andrew Baydala. So there's a lot of stuff to look forward to. A lot of shows to cover to wrap up 2024. All that being said, let's get into it. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is this week's takes from Raw and SmackDown and NXT and everything in between. Let's start off with Halloween Havoc, since that was the pay-per-view that I covered on Sunday from Hershey. A couple things that really stood out to me was the Tony D'Angelo and Obafemi Tables, Ladders, and Scares match. A lot of fun, a lot of good physicality. I think Obafemi is going to be a player, man. He's one of one. I'll say that. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I think the future is bright for him. I know there's been people like Matt Camp. Oh, man, I can't go a day without going on YouTube and seeing, former WWE commentator shoots on this. Former WWE commentator shoots on that. Man, Matt Camp, I know you have an ego, but holy shit, dude. You must think really highly of yourself. You got takes for days, man. Takes for days. I love the clickbaiting shit, too. It's like, former WWE commentator shoots on this. Former WWE commentator shoots on this. And it's always the same damn pad facial expressions. I know it's cheat codes in a way in the YouTube world to, like, suck people into your videos by coming up with some strange title that maybe you don't believe in. And or, having some weird disingenuous facial reaction to like the stuff you see on the thumbnails and stuff like that. And like, I'm too genuine to a fault at times, guys. I can't sit here and be like, let me have a fake reaction just so you can look at my video. That's just not me. But anyways, we're not here to talk about Matt Camp. I was only brought him up because I always hear from him like saying, the Don and Tony Angelo would not work on the main roster. All right, we'll see about that. My favorite match from Halloween Havoc this past Sunday was Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade against Julia and Stephanie Vaquer. That's probably one of the best female tag matches that I ever transcribed. From all brands, and I'm not even lying when I say that. It was fast-paced. I felt for a moment that I was Sonic the Hedgehog and trying to type everything down. Now, mind you, when I do pay-per-views, it's a little different for me. I think this is from osmosis and just years of experience of making these type of articles. For whatever reason, when I'm doing like Raw, SmackDown, or NXT, I pause a lot during the show because there's a lot of promos and I want to make sure I get all the dialogue like down right so you guys don't miss anything. That's the reason why I write out the full-length promos and stuff like that, is because I don't want any context to be lost, and I'm not the best when it comes to generalizing things. Like, for me, I'd rather tell you what actually happened than just summarizing it quick and being lazy with my articles, basically. So I will pause a lot, like during like a Raw or SmackDown. But when it comes to the pay-per-views, it may it's just for the fact that I have the tempo and the rhythm down when it comes to transcribing a wrestling match, regardless of what the stipulation is or the type of wrestlers are in. I think I've just grown to have this cadence with my fingers over the years to, like, okay, it's a pay-per-view. I'm going to cover it as it is, no pausing. And it's a fun challenge. I'm not going to lie. It's a fun challenge, but I think just through my experience doing this, I know that my retention skills are good enough to know that, if a match is going super, super fast with a gazillion moves, I'll be able to at least blur that out as I'm recalling as I'm watching the show live. So there's a lot of multitasking that comes with making a wrestling play-by-play article that I don't think people really understand. And like for this match with Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, and Stephanie Vaquer and Julia, very fast pace, a lot of moving parts. I thought it was the AEW match for a moment, but the ladies killed it. Julia and Stephanie Vaquer won. Out came with the debut of Zarya, who's just another force to be reckoned with. She was causing chaos on NXT this week. Andre Chase and Rich Holland's ambulance match, I thought was alright. Rich Holland is picking a fight with Bully Ray. They're going to be in a tag match. It's going to be Trick Williams and Bully Ray against Ethan Page and Rich Holland for the NXT special at the ECW Arena this Tuesday. Not this Tuesday. Next Wednesday. That's right. I have no articles to do on Tuesday because it's the election, which is very interesting, but I'm also kind of glad that it's over because I'm just ready for this publicity stunt to be over with, and I don't really ride either side of the fence when it comes to politics, and I'm just ready for this to be over with, honestly. So Tuesday can't come quick enough. Anyways, we're not here to talk about politics. We're here to talk about wrestling. Kalani Jordan against Fatal Influence in the gauntlet match. I thought the layout of this match was pretty good too. Very happy to see that Fallon Henley got her first singles championship in WWE. She's your brand new NXT Women's North American Champion. Very happy for her. I think this is one of the talents that AEW dropped the ball with. I first saw her on AEW Dark as Tesha Price. And she's a beautiful woman, but she has a lot of things going for her. I think the facial reactions she has, she's a really good wrestler, obviously. I think her character work is good. And you can tell the good ones where it's like everything they do just seems like natural to them. And it's like, I see Fallon Henley, and it's like, I watch her, and she's just like a really good wrestler. I don't see like a girl wrestling. I don't see like something over the top of her. She's just good at her craft. She's just badass, and she's pretty cool. So I'm very happy for her. I'm glad to see that happen, and I like Fatal Influence. I've always been a fan of JCJ, and I think she's probably one of the most underrated female wrestlers in the world. And I think it's been kind of long overdue for her to be on Raw or SmackDown. And I think she would do well for herself if given the opportunity. But I like Fatal Influence, and it's been a fun group to watch so far. And then we had Trick Williams, Ethan Page, Devil's Playground match for the NXT Championship. Very physical match. Trick Williams ended up winning and retaining over Ethan Page. Freaking Trick, man. He's like coming out as Willy Wonka. Obviously, the PLE was in Hershey, Pennsylvania, home of chocolate, basically. And I think he was saying something like to Lash Legend about him being Willy Wonka or whatever, like Trick Willy. Oh man, Trick Willy's a trip. But yeah, that was Halloween Havoc. I enjoyed the show for what it was. Probably give it like a good B+. A- PLE. I enjoyed it for what it was. Then we go over to Raw. You know what? Let's track back. Let's backtrack. Excuse me. It's kind of early in the morning. Bear with me. Let's backtrack a bit. Let's go to SmackDown last week from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. I loved how this show kicked off with Randy Orton calling out Triple H at the gorilla position, then calling him out to the ring, and they're back and forth, and everything that's going on with Kevin Owens just becoming completely unhinged, and Triple H is basically like, dude, like, I'm not protecting Kevin Owens. He's protecting Randy from Kevin Owens. And Randy's like, no, I want a match with him. And he made it official. It will be Randy Orton and Kevin Owens at Crown Jewel. That should be a lot of fun. I'm looking for it. You know, when they had the triple threat match with Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, and Logan Paul for the United States Championship at WrestleMania this year, I thought one way or another during this calendar year, there was going to be a feud with Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. Now, regarding who was going to be the heel in this one, it was 50-50 for me. But I knew somewhere, somehow, we were going to get a Randy Orton and Kevin Owens feud, and I'm here for it. And I'm excited to see what happens tomorrow as they have their match. I'm sure something will go down, and Kevin will probably do some real damage to Randy. But yeah, I'm very excited for that match. Really am. Carmelo Hayes and Andrade Alito had their match 7. LA Knight was the special guest referee. Both guys' egos got in the way and were too fixated on what LA Knight was doing or not doing, and that caused LA Knight to attack both guys. The match ended up being a no contest. I thought it was a little clunky with all that. All that to be said, we'll have a conclusion for this little rivalry that's going on Saturday, as LA Knight will put his United States Championship on the line in a triple threat match against Carmelo Hayes and Andrade Alito. So that'll be a fun match, and we'll get some resolution out of that shenanigan stuff. Cody and Gunther's segment I liked a lot too. Gunther carries himself very well on the microphone, and he's like, Cody loves the flair of the dramatics and always making things about himself, and he's like calling Cody a gutless champion, and Cody's like, all right, you want to question my testicular fortitude and stuff like that. Well, where are you when it comes to the media calls and stuff that promotes the brand and everything? Oh, you're too good to do interviews? And Gunther's like, I have the guts to say no to media requests. I have the guts to say no to my boss, because I am steadfast in knowing that I'm the best professional wrestler in the world. And really, a lot of this thing with the Crown Jewel Championship, I know a lot of people have their jokes. Oh, they always do this stuff for the Saudi Arabian shows. Oh, they don't care about championships. Oh, it's never going to be defended. Oh, there's nothing on the line. Really, the Crown Jewel Championship, guys, is bragging rights. That's all it is. That's what it is. It's a show in Saudi Arabia where you'll get King of the Ring in the fall, the spring during summertime, and then during the fall and winter time, when you have Crown Jewel, it'll be bragging rights. That's all it is. DIY against Morrissey Machine Guns was fantastic. Definitely would have loved to see that on a PLE. That was fantastic. What I was not expecting to see was what happened after the match, where Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline come down to the ring, and Solo again, the guy's a trip on the microphone. He's mocking Chris Sabin. He's the man. And Solo, in a way, talks the Machine Guns into having their tag title opportunity right there on the spot against GOD. And that was Solo's first mistake because you kind of knew where this was going. We had the match goes on. Out comes Jimmy Uso in a black hoodie, attacking everybody. Out comes the Tribal Chief, the OTC. He joins the fray. And then, just as those guys are fighting off Jacob Fatu and Solo, GOD's like, alright, we got the match under wraps. Like, we got this now. But guess what? We have somebody else in a black hoodie. It's Jey Uso. And Big Pop, Jey costs GOD the tag team championships. Congratulations go out to Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin of the Motor City Machine Guns, your brand new WWE Tag Team Champions. I thought SmackDown was a fantastic show. The way it ended with the Usos hugging each other and Roman looking on from the stage was fantastic. Kind of gives you a cliffhanger of what we're going to see tonight. I know tonight's episode of SmackDown was taped due to the fact that Crown Jewel is tomorrow. I don't really look into spoilers, so that's not my type of thing. Please don't send me spoilers my way on social media at the Hoots Podcast. By the way, if you want to follow me there, I will block you if you give me spoilers. I don't have time for that stuff. Please. Thank you. But big angle. Obviously, it was going to be sooner or later where Jey would get back involved with this Bloodline saga. But, Jey's standing his ground, and then he goes to Monday where he's like, we're not going to be lackeys. We're not going to be somebody's yes boy. What we're going to do is we're going to be individuals. We're all equals, and that's that. We're leaving it at that. And guess what? It was cool, Like, they have running with Sami Zayn. Sami still kind of feels iffy about Jimmy. Doesn't understand why Jey's just falling back into line with the bloodline, and Jay's like, you wouldn't understand because you're not family. And then we see towards the end of the show, you have Sami being caught talking to Solo Sikoa in the parking lot area, and Jey sees that from afar with Jimmy, and this this soap opera with the bloodline is just, it gets better as the weeks go by. What's up next? How is Roman Reigns going to feel about this entire situation? How will this go into War Games and what the actual teams will look like? So many different questions, but that's why we watch. There's just a lot to look forward to. So, yeah, man. I really, really enjoyed SmackDown this week. I thought Raw was fine for what it was, too. I enjoyed the match with Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser. I can see those guys fight each other every single week, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. Ludwig Kaiser is the man. Ludwig Kaiser. The triple threat match, New Day, Viking Raiders, and the LWO. Another good match. Viking Raiders got the victory. They'll be the number one contenders for Finn Balor and JD McDonough. Definitely see the War Raiders becoming your new World Tag Team Champions soon. That's definitely a given. The Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed segment and brawl out in the parking lot, I thought it was really well executed. I'm very excited for their match at Crown Jewel. Obviously, tomorrow. Looking forward to it. It should be a lot of fun. And then, well, from there, we had, we had the Dominic Mysterio main event with Damian Priest. They were teasing that Dominic was going to have a match with a former World Heavyweight Champion. It ended up being Damian Priest. And Dominic somehow got the victory over Damian Priest. Was not expecting that. But Damian Priest decided to give Dominic the beats. He really messed up the Judgment Day as the show went off the air. So, still things are not over with the Judgment Day. I saw that they attacked Rhea Ripley in the parking lot area in NXT. And she has a fractured orbital bone socket right now. So, yeah, this whole deal with Liv Morgan and her sexy ass and Dominic and the Judgment Day and all that stuff, this stuff is far, far from over. It's far from over, guys. Alright, so that's my thoughts from Raw and SmackDown this week. Let's get into Crown Jewel preview and predictions, and we'll leave it at that. Let's do it, shall we? All right, just give me 1 second where I can get the name of this arena right. Just give me a second. All right, here we go. Coming to you live from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's the 2024 edition of WWE Crown Jewel. Here is your matches first. First on the lineup here, we have L.A. Knight against Andrade Alito and Carmel Hayes in a triple threat match for the WWE United States Championship. Next, a fatal four-way match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. As the champions Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair take on Damage Control, Metaphor, and Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Next, a grudge match made official this past Friday night on SmackDown. The Viper, Randy Orton, takes on Kevin Owens. Next, another grudge match for Monday Night Raw pits Seth freaking Rollins against Big Bronson Reed. Next, the singles match for the WWE Women's Crown Jewel Championship. It's Liv Morgan from Monday Night Raw will take on SmackDown's Nia Jax. Next, a 6-man tag team match features Roman Reigns and the Usos taking on the Bloodline. And our main event of the evening, a match for the inaugural Crown Jewel Championship. It's Raw's Gunther taking on the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. More matches to be announced. Make sure to follow Triple H at Twitter at Triple H and get all your tickets right now at WWE.com/tickets or at Ticketmaster. Yeah. I always love doing like the excrement impressions when we do like the rundown for the cards and stuff. Alright guys, we'll make this quick. Here's my predictions for the pay-per-view on Saturday. I have LA Knight retaining over Andrade and Carmel Hayes. I just still think that LA's losing the title anytime soon. So I'm going to go with LA Knight to retain. I have Kevin Owens beating Randy Orton. I have Jade and Bianca retaining over Damage Control, Metaphor, and Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. I got Nia Jax beating Liv Morgan. And then Tiffany Stratton cashes in her Money in the Bank briefcase. I think Tiffany Stratton is walking out of Saudi Arabia as your new WWE Women's Champion. So I think the cash is going to happen on Saturday. I really do. I got, believe it or not, guys, I got Bronson Reed beating Seth Rollins. I do. Either that or it's going to be something where these guys have like a double like count out or double disqualification. And then they'll have to fight each other at Survivor Series. I think either Bronson Reed wins or it's going to be like a no contest type of thing. But I'm very excited for that match with Seth and Bronson. It's going to be a lot of fun. Bloodline match. That's going to be very interesting too. I actually have the Bloodline beating Roman Reigns and the Usos. I really do. I wouldn't be surprised if Roman and the Usos win, but here's the deal. Do we get another member of the Bloodline involved here? Is this where Hikuleo shows himself and costs Roman and the Usos the match? Stuff to look out for. I'm very interested to see how this... I'm actually surprised that they're doing this 6-man tag, but, you know, it is what it is. You got a Crown Jewel show. Usually these Saudi Arabia shows are a little bit longer than the domestic PLEs, so we'll see how long this show is going to be. It may be 4 hours, looking at it right now, just from here. But Gunther and Cody Rhodes for the main event. I got Gunther beating Cody Rhodes and becoming your inaugural Crown Jewel champion. But anyways, this is a very, very, very good card. I think this may be from top to bottom. Honestly, I think this might be the best card for a WWE pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia since they've had this partnership. So I'm very excited to cover this show tomorrow. I think it's going to be very good, and I'm looking forward to it. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, that is what happened this week in WWE. When we come back, we'll answer your questions for this week's edition of the Back Porch Q&A session. Then we'll air my old interview that I did with Stokely Hathaway right here on episode 437 of the Hoots Podcast. We'll be right back. Yeet. All right, ladies and gentlemen, one more something to do here on the podcast at Hoots. No. Hope everybody had a great wean of Hallows. I don't know. I've never been a really big Halloween guy. I don't know why. But I hope that everybody and the little Jimmies and the little Jennies got their candy and everything, and they got their costumes going on. I hope everybody's in good spirits, and I think it's cool. All right, as we do, it's tradition here on the podcast of Hoots is we do the Back Porch Q&A session. It's one of my favorite parts of the show where I get to interact with you guys and see what you guys want to talk about. As always, we have the good brother Chris Zaletta at XTeamZaletta24X on the Twitter machine. Throw up the X for Chris, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it. Throw up the X. He says, "What up, Boost? Here's some questions for the Q&A this week. Favorite match from Halloween Havoc? Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade against Stephanie Vancouver and Julia for multiple Reasons. Cedric, is Cedric going to turn on Javon? Yeah, probably. I can see that. That doesn't need further explanation. I think anybody that watches the show, I think that Cedric will probably turn on Javon Evans. I can see that happening. Your grading of Caleb Williams so far. I'll give him a B. Honestly, Chris, I'll give him a solid B. I think that's fair. I think he's done a good job so far. I think he gets better as the weeks go by. Obviously, the stuff with the Bears is not fun to sit through. We're becoming a national laughing stock again over a freaking Hail Mary. But what you gonna do? It is what it is. But I'll give Caleb a solid B so far. Which match is more likely to end in a DQ at Crown Jewel? Orton and KO or the 6-man tag? I think you're looking at the wrong one, man. I think I just mentioned in the previous segment, I think it's going to be Seth and Bronson that's probably the DQ out of all three of these here. I mean, would I be surprised if the Bloodline match ends in a no contest or DQ? No, I wouldn't. I think something where maybe you get a referee stoppage with Randy and KO, but if we're talking strictly DQs, I don't think it's either of these matches. It'd probably be Bronson and Seth Rollins, honestly. Will we get one last rodeo from Mickie James in WWE? I certainly hope so, Chris. I really do. Mickie James is my all-time favorite female wrestler. So I would love to see her have one last run just as herself. So I don't see why not. Thoughts on the WWE ID program? Man, this one sparked some controversy this week. I don't know, in the same breath where you have shows like this and podcasts like this where you have people be like, and Matt Camp, again, shocker. Former WWE commentator Matt Camp says that WWE's WWE ID program is a bad idea. Okay. Well, this is the same guy that was like going on a soliloquy about how the performance centers ran and the fact they focused too much on hiring D1 and NCAA athletes, but now you have a pipeline for performers through the independent scene now that have an opportunity to work for WWE, but now it's a bad idea. Doesn't that sound a little bit hypocritical? I don't know how any of this with the independents in this new theme with WWE ID is a bad idea. I'm happy for the industry. Do I follow along everything that goes on in the indies at the current moment? I don't. But I'm happy for the industry. I think it's a great thing. I really do. You know, think about all these talents that had to scramble and save so much money for an opportunity to have at least one tryout in their life with the WWE. Now you have them actively wanting to recruit independent wrestling talent. I don't know how anybody with a rational thought would say that this is a bad idea or bad for the industry. I guess we still live in this world where we still think that Vince McMahon is running the show and stuff like that. So people only looked at WWE through the prism of the fact that Vince McMahon is still around and running things. Guys, he's not there anymore. I think we could move on from the narratives and perceptions and shit like that. I don't know. I think it's a cool thing. I think it's a great thing for the industry. And I don't know how anybody can say with a straight face that this is a bad idea. I really don't. Tuesday night, we got the image of Kalani, Stephanie, Jordan Grace, Julia, and Zarya all together. Who will be the next 3 women across the board in wrestling that will sign with WWE? Ooh, that's a good question, man. That's a good one. Man, you stumped me on that one, Chris. I've definitely thrown Jordan Grace into the equation. I don't see why not. I guess if you look at the field from AEW, I think that Anna Jay would have a really good run in WWE. I think she's just like running in place in AEW at this point. So I'd probably say Anna Jay, and you know what? I probably wouldn't be surprised if Britt Baker or Thunder Rosa will make their way to WWE soon. So that's something to certainly keep your eye on as the weeks go by. But I want to thank you, Chris, for the questions this week, good brother. As always, ladies and gentlemen, you can participate in the Back Porch Q&A session, as always, by hitting me up at the Hoots Podcast on Twitter or the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com. You can ask me whatever you want. No questions are a bad question. It doesn't have to be wrestling related all the time. I'm always open to answering your questions, and I really enjoy doing this segment each week with you guys, so I appreciate it. On that note, we're going to put a ribbon on the bow of this week's podcast. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at the Hoots Podcast or the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com. I'm on Instagram, Joshie Lopez Music. Make sure to check out my play-by-play transcripts at WrestlingHeadlines.com in the results section. You can see what I did last week for Halloween Havoc and what I'm going to be doing tomorrow with Crown Jewel. And I hope you guys enjoy Crown Jewel. Hope you guys enjoy SmackDown tonight. And just enjoy wrestling. It's a great form of a mental escape that I think a lot of us take for granted. And it should be the case. So make sure to enjoy your wrestling weekend. I'll be here to recap it next week. This countdown to episode 500 is going by fast. So please try to enjoy these episodes as it lasts. So I love y'all. Have a wonderful weekend. Remember, folks, be the authentic product that is yourself. And remember, nobody dictates the pace of your life but yourself and the man upstairs. I'm Joshie. This has been episode 437 of the Hoots Podcast. Now, let's toss it back to the archives as we take a trip back to 2015 as I did an interview with Stokely Hathaway, now part of AEW, but this interview was when he was with Ring of Honor almost a decade ago. This has been episode 437 of the Hoots Podcast. I'm Joshie Lopez. We'll talk to you all next week. Yeet.
Ring of Honor Wrestling airs every week on the Sinclair Broadcast Group Network.
On March 1st in Las Vegas, Ring of Honor celebrates its first Moose-iversary. This is a new beginning.
And this new beginning is one hell of a start for the Moose Nation. And Mark Briscoe, I don't know who you are. Wait, that's a mistake. I know you're a redneck. I know you're a hillbilly. And I know you're toothless. But I think you may be a stepping stone for an NFL legend, my best friend, Moose.
I've told Ring of Honor that we've assembled a team to take Moose straight to the top. We deserve the highest level of competition. We deserve championships, and we will have them. But first, we have to deal with the other one. So, Mark Briscoe, let me put this into terms like an elite athlete is used to. Think of this as a scouting report in Las Vegas that you can take back to your brother, that you can take back to the world, and let them know what it's like to be absolutely flattened by a moose. Moose. Moose.
Welcome back, everybody. Pro Wrestling Experience here on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. Josh Lopez alongside Brian Loveless. Joining the air with us right now, continuing our promotion for Ring of Honor's 13th anniversary, which will be live on pay-per-view from Las Vegas, Nevada. We'll be talking to Stokely Hathaway, who's the manager for Moose. Stokely, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Just excited to be on the air with you guys and, just spread the word of the Moose Nation, of course. So, we have this big match coming up in Vegas, pay-per-view, Moose versus Mark Briscoe. And, it's the beginning of Moose's, ascension to the top.
Let's get to know you a little bit. As always, I ask my guests, what does wrestling mean to you personally?
Wrestling is, of course, my life. I started with the Ring of Honor dojo only about, I would say, a year and a half ago. I was trained by Delirious. I'm sure you all know him. He's an excellent trainer. Absolutely. And, slowly I, climbed the ranks of Ring of Honor, and, I got to meet Moose, and it just, we chatted, we talked, and I saw potential in this man. Moose is an NFL legend. So, I said to myself, I want to be the man in Ring of Honor. And this guy, Moose, can help me get to the top.
Well, Moose wasn't your first thing you've done in Ring of Honor. I remember you walking aside R.D. Evans and Veda Scott with the new streak. Tell us, for those who haven't seen Ring of Honor in a little while, what happened, why did you guys split, and how did this joining forces with you and Moose and Veda Scott came to be?
Of course. Well, I've known Moose for years, and R.D. Evans came to me, and he said that he thought I had a lot of potential. I became his assistant, if you want to call it that, and pretty much I was the official counter for the streak. R.D. Evans had the new streak, and pretty soon he was able to cash in this quote-unquote streak for a shot at the TV title. And it was at Glory by Honor in San Antonio, Texas. It was last year, November 15th. I'll never forget. And, to be perfectly honest, I never really liked the way RD treated me. I really didn't like the way Veda treated me. And, Moose and I, we looked at each other and we said, this is the time, this is the place. And so Moose ended the streak. Lethal was able to retain the TV championship, and we just went our own way.
Do you trust Veda Scott?
I trust her now more than I did before. She apologized for everything that she's done in the past, and Veda has seen the light. Veda has seen the light of the Moose Nation, and we know that it's a matter of time before Moose holds the Ring of Honor World Championship, and that's the ultimate goal, because when Moose succeeds, we all succeed.
How would you describe your experience so far in Ring of Honor?
It's been fantastic. I trash talk a lot about everyone on the roster, especially the Briscoes, but, to be honest with you, it's still a little surreal to be a part of this company. You look at guys like Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Jay Lethal, just to be in the locker room with them and to be able to learn and to watch. It's really like a blessing. And those same guys, that I respect, ultimately, again, they're going to fall to the Moose Nation, but it's all just been like a blessing. And the sky's the limit, and by the end of 2015, I guarantee you we're going to be at the top of the food chain.
Now we're talking to Stokely Hathaway from Ring of Honor. You can follow me on Twitter at Stokely Hathaway. Ring of Honor's 13th anniversary is live on pay-per-view on March 1st from Las Vegas, Nevada. You're listening to the Pro Wrestling Experience here on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. we got this upcoming match with Mark Briscoe. Mark is a long veteran of Ring of Honor. I'm sure he's not the first of many targets for Moose, but what is your thoughts on Mark Briscoe?
Mark is very talented, of course. Mark is a former tag team champion. Mark has competed against the best. I really don't have anything against him personally. It's all business, of course. Mm-hmm. And again, he's one of those guys in the locker room that I respect, but ultimately he is a stepping stone. And we have our eyes on the prize. You know, we're going to climb that mountaintop. And I mean, I kind of feel bad for him because, live on pay-per-view is going to be a massacre. And I know Papa Briscoe and all the other, hillbillies in his family, they're going to be watching, but it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be a wrestling match. It's going to be pure destruction. And, it is what it is. But as far as him personally, I'm sure that he's a decent guy, but again, he's a stepping stone to us.
Do you have any interest in expanding your group? Is there any guys on the roster that you would like to be associated with Moose, or are you happy with what you're doing right now?
I mean, we're always looking at expansion. Michael Elgin, that's one guy that, I think would be an excellent addition to the Moose Nation. He has a little attitude problem, but I can easily nip that in the bud. But aside from that, I think he would be a great addition. Adam Cole, ACH, Evan Bourne even. Well, I'm sorry, not Evan Bourne. He's reborn now. He's now Matt Sydal. So, he's excellent. Again, to be able to sit down and watch them perform, watch them do what they do. If we had those guys in the Moose Nation, I mean, we would be unstoppable. We would just dominate this company.
In past years, wrestling managers or advocates use different labels. Like Paul Heyman says he's an advocate. There's people that said they're clients or representatives or this or that. You mentioned that you are a wrestler and that you were trained in Ring of Honor Doja. How would you describe yourself as a manager? Do you have a certain label, or are you just a manager for Moose?
I mean, I really don't like the term manager because, like you said, I am a trained professional wrestler. Actually wrestled a Cheeseburger a couple weeks ago. That was in Dearborn, Michigan. Cheeseburger cheated, of course, to get the win, which I'm still a little upset about. However, Moose and I are best friends. Veda and I, we're all friends. I view it as I'm just looking out for Moose's best interest. Moose is a client of Veda Scott as well. Veda is Moose's lawyer, mm-hmm. And I'm the guy who just gets things done. I'm like the hype man in a sense. I tell Moose when to do something, when's the best time to do it, and that's pretty much it. I think as far as, not saying that the term manager is a bad thing, but there's just a little more going on than me walking Moose to the ring and making sure that he wins, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand. If people never seen Moose before, what can people expect from him at the 13th anniversary show?
He's basically a powerhouse. Moose is a former NFL star who just on his own decided to become a professional wrestler, which to me, that's amazing. Moose in the NFL, the sky was the limit, and he's always dreamed of being a wrestler. He did it. Now he's in Ring of Honor. He's on television, and I think it's no secret that there are major companies out there who are vying for Moose. And again, Moose has said no. Moose's ultimate goal is the Ring of Honor World Championship. And this man has gone toe-to-toe with former champions. Again, he took Michael Elgin to the limit. He's going to take Mark Briscoe to the limit. He's going to beat him. And Moose is just a powerhouse. He is what I like to call the monster of Ring of Honor.
Who would you say is your biggest influence in your time in the wrestling business so far?
Oh, wow, that's a good one. I would say, probably Delirious. Believe it or not, we have a lot in common. He always gives me feedback, advice. Again, he's been my trainer, and he's a little wacky, he's a little out there, and so am I. I'm sure you could tell by my attire in my wrestling gear, but I would say, he's been a huge influence on my career.
Are you still, watching other wrestling companies out there? Because I've talked to other Ring of Honor stars in the past, and some of them come off with the vibe where, they're fine with what they're doing. They don't need to learn from other shows. I'm one for, promoting the good in wrestling and learning everything from every type of show. That's what we do here in our show. And so are you watching other shows, and who do you gravitate to as far as other wrestling companies?
I mean, I try to watch everything. Again, New Japan, WWE, TNA, I'm just like you. I think it's very important to know the competition, to know who's out there, who's on the rise. And, it's to me, I think it's very important to just look outside of your circle or your bubble. And as far as guys that I think are impressive or just killing it right now, I would say Mizdow. I think he's hilarious. He took something so small and he made it into something so big. Just guys like that who they were given the smallest opportunity and they just blew up. And the same thing happened with me. I was RD's sign holder and the official counter of the new streak, and look where I am now. So to me, it's just it's an amazing thing.
One more thing before we let you go. For those who are tuning into the pay-per-view, and I don't know if Mark's listening to this right now, but if he was, what would you say to Mark Briscoe right now?
Well, Mark doesn't own a computer. I'm sure he doesn't know what the internet is, so I highly doubt that he's listening. But if somehow, he got a hold of this interview, I would just tell him I'm sorry. Mainly because, again, it's going to be a massacre. For everyone who thinks that it's going to be a good back and forth match, it's going to be, 60 stars, people are going to be screaming and ripping their clothes off. It's not. We're going to walk in there. We have a clear objective, and that is to destroy Mark Briscoe. And again, he is a stepping stone. I just hope that he warns his brother Jay, because we're coming after the Ring of Honor World Championship, and by the end of 2015, it's going to be ours.
I want to thank Stokely Hathaway for coming on the Pro Wrestling Experience. Don't forget to check out Ring of Honor's 13th anniversary live on pay-per-view March 1st from Las Vegas, Nevada. Stokely, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. Really cool guy. I am enjoying your work so far. I'm sure the Moose Nation will rise in 2015, and hopefully you can come on the show again sometime.
Awesome. We'll do it anytime. Thank you guys for having me.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye, bitch.